So basically, Halima is about to join, I think. Then we'll start. But till then, we can discuss the formulas. Okay. So Mariam, you are very new to this chapter. So basically, you just mug up the formula right now. Okay, just look the formula and just have a. You can say just you can mug up it right now because you don't know what is fiscal, you don't know what is revenue and all that. So just write down the formulas. That's it, and you just try to remember it. That okay, this was the formula. That's it. Okay. Then we'll discuss everything in detail. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so students, today we'll be doing the numerical portion, and today for 1 hour we'll be doing only numerical portion. Okay, so first I'll let you know people discuss the formulas. Why? Because like if you don't know the formulas, then it's of no use, right? So first is fiscal. There are three deficit: fiscal, revenue, and primary, right? So fiscal deficit, you know, total expenditure minus total receipt, but we have to exclude the borrowing. And if you'll go in detail, then this total expenditure is made up of two types, two things: revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. And similarly, total receipt is made up of two parts, which is revenue receipt and the capital receipt, and excluding the borrowing. Clear? First formula is clear. Any confusion?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Mahdi, Mariam.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Second one is revenue deficit. Okay, this one was your first. Okay, first one. This one is your second, which is revenue deficit. Total revenue expenditure minus total revenue receipt. Clear? Very simple. And the third one, primary. Okay, let's Halima join then. Okay, good evening, Halima. How are you? Halima, am I audible?
Good evening, ma'am.
Okay, good evening. So today basically we are going to discuss numerical. For 1 hour we are going to do numerical portion only. So be ready. Okay. So what I was doing, first we'll discuss the formula, as this is a basic one. So we know we have only three formula. In this chapter you have high chances you can score very well in numericals. Why? Because you have only three formulas. And these three formulas you will get like 90% of the chances are there you will get the direct entries. You just have to remember formula, just put the value and get the answer. Clear? And there was only one different situation which I told you, that somewhere fiscal deficit, like for example revenue expenditure is given but capital expenditure is not given, and others entries are given. In that case your one entry is missing. If for fiscal deficit any entry is missing, any value is not given, you are not going to take it 0, you are going to take it, then in that case your fiscal deficit is going to be equals to your borrowing. Okay, this is what you have to remember, because most of the time they ask the question from here. Okay. And second formula is revenue deficit, total revenue expenditure minus total revenue receipt. And the third formula is primary deficit equals to fiscal deficit minus IP, which is interest rate. Clear? Formulas clear everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
So Mariam, you can write down the formulas and give, and everyone just quickly revise it, because then we'll start with the question. So at that moment, you should be ready with the formulas, right? So revise it. And then I'm just telling you fiscal deficit formula, Mahdi will be telling, revenue deficit Sania, and primary deficit Halima. Okay, done. Students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So Mahdi, just tell me what is the formula of fiscal deficit? Mahdi, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Fiscal deficit is
You are
equal
not
to.
audible.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
So the voice is little like in see.
Hello.
Like is there anyone else who can hear Mahdi apart from me?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear it, but it's very
But it's slow,
feeble.
na?
Yes.
Um,
Okay, Mahdi, write in chat box. Okay, just write the formula in chat box. Okay, next, Sana. What is the formula of revenue deficit?
Total revenue expenditure minus total revenue receipts.
Good. Halima, primary deficit.
Fiscal deficit minus interest payments.
Okay. Fiscal deficit minus interest payment. Okay. So students, we are going to start with the questions now. Okay. The very first question, in a government budget, the revenue deficit is 35 crores. And if revenue receipts are 70 crore and the capital expenditure is 120 crore, then what is the revenue expenditure? See, most of the time, for example, here you have to find revenue expenditure. That means you have to find this one. Okay. You have to find this formula. So sometimes in exam hall, for example, your formula is revenue deficit equals to total revenue deficit. Okay, you can say revenue deficit minus total revenue receipt, right? Expenditure and all that. So maybe in exam hall, they are not asking you this revenue deficit. They can ask you to find this. And you being a commerce student, you know the basic maths. If you have to find this, then you have to move, shift this unit from here to here, right? You know the basic maths. Everyone knows the basic maths,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So being a commerce student, I expect you people that you know how to calculate. So in case they are not, it's not always sure that they'll be asking you what is primary deficit, what is revenue deficit, what is fiscal deficit. No, sometimes they'll be asking you what is total revenue expenditure. So here these two values will be given to you and you have to find out this. Okay, so this is the question. Just I'm giving you 2 minutes. This is very simple. Just try to answer it. Okay, students, don't write the entire question. Just write revenue deficit equals to 35 crores, revenue receipt equals to 70 crore, capital expenditure equals to 120 crore, and then revenue expenditure equals to question mark, and then solve. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Just remember one thing, sometimes you have to ignore few things, right? There are some extra entries in as well in your question, so you have to ignore that. Okay, you just don't have to take each and everything. You just have to ignore few things which are useless. Done. Sana is done. Halima and Mahdi. Mariam, you can try and then I'll solve it. You can check. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Halima and Mahdi done. Sania is done actually. Okay, students done. Okay, I'm just solving it. You can check your answers accordingly. Okay. Okay, this is the, you can say, one of the easiest thing, but let's just check. Okay. So now the question was revenue deficit. You have, like I have given you in the question, and revenue receipt is also given, and capital expenditure is given. You have to find the revenue expenditure. So very first thing is that you have to remember all the three formulas. And if you remember all the three formula, then you must be wondering, ma'am, where this revenue expenditure is. So in this formula, this is rejected. Why? Because revenue expenditure is not mentioned. Here revenue expenditure is mentioned, but fiscal and everything is given. Here you will be getting revenue expenditure, right? So this means that this formula is going to, you are going to use this formula. Okay. Now you are simply going to put it revenue deficit equals to revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt. Your revenue deficit was 35 crores. Your revenue expenditure, you have to find it out, and your revenue receipt was 70 crores. So simply the simple basic calculation you have to do is, right, 35 equals to your revenue expenditure minus 70. If you have to find out this, you have to make this unit alone, you can say. So now this will be shifting here, then 35 plus 70, it is 105 crore, and your RE is this. Clear? Sania, your answer was right.
Yes.
Clear? Halima and Mahdi and Mariam getting it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm just, those who haven't done it, you can write it, like you can solve it. Okay, I'm just giving you 1 minute. I hope done. Right?
Done.
Okay. Now the second question. The interest requirement as per government budget during the year is 1,40,000 crore. Okay. So that means IP is given to you. If the total borrowing requirement of the government are estimated this, then how is your primary deficit? Clear? Can anyone just give me a hint like what this question, which formula you are going to use over here?
Yes, ma'am. So this borrowing will be equal to physical deficit.
Very good.
So
And then
primary deficit equal to physical deficit minus interest payments.
and simply you're going to put the value and get the answer, right?
Yes.
So solve it. Don't write the entire question, just write the it like IP equals to this, the value like this, like, because I don't want to waste your time. IP, the value, and then what is given, borrowing is given. So then you'll be writing this, and then you have to find PD equals to question mark, and then you have to mention here that according to question that your borrowing equals to your fiscal deficit. That means fiscal deficit equals to the value, and then write the formula and then solve it. Okay, solve it and let me know the answer. Halima, Mahdi, Mariam, getting it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See, the question was here you are like it is given that borrowing, right? What I told you in the very first thing, that in case the values are not given, see, you are going to use this formula, right? The fiscal deficit and the interest payment. But over here, the values of fiscal deficit is not given. So that's why you will be taking fiscal deficit equals to borrowing. So borrowing is given, primary deficit is, you have to find it out, and interest payment is given. So you are going to subtract it and get the answer.
Done, ma'am.
I hope the answer is same for everyone. 1,30,000 crores. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Halima, Mahdi, Miriam.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Now moving to third question, which is in a government budget, the primary deficit is this and the interest payment is this. You have to find fiscal deficit. I guess this is the simplest question you are getting. Just quickly solve it. Mahdi will be telling me the answer in chat box. Quickly, Mahdi, this is the simplest question. Okay, Mahdi?
Ma'am, is it 19,000?
Mahdi, write in chat box. You are not audible. Mahdi, okay. Mahdi, I'm waiting for your answer. Sana, your answer is how come it 5,000? What you did?
12,000 plus 7,000.
Then it is 5,000.
Oh, sorry, ma'am.
Right? Okay. Good, Mahdi. Your answer is correct. Halima?
19.
Yeah.
Same I
Good.
got.
Yeah. Mariam, you also got the answer? Mariam, you're getting it? Like, of course, I know it's very difficult to cope up, but I hope you are getting, like, not 100%, but at least 50 to 60%. Getting it? Mariam, am I audible to you? Mm, yeah. Okay, I hope, Sanya, you, like, you got the mistake where you went
Yes,
wrong?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, student, this one is very, you can say, one of the good questions, okay, which you get. Like, there are high chances if examiner is going to set your paper a difficult one, then you are going to get this question. Okay. Now, listen to it very carefully. I'll solve it same. Okay. As per government budget, the IP is this. Your IP is given, which is 40% of your primary deficit. Remember, your IP is given, right? But your IP is 40% of your primary deficit, and you have to calculate fiscal deficit. If I'll ask you which formula you are going to use, definitely you will answer me that, ma'am, I'm going to use this formula, right? But over here, IP is given, but it is mentioned that it is this much percentage of your primary deficit. Okay, clear? So I hope you are getting it. IP is given, but what they told you that it is 40% of the primary deficit. Okay, but right now you don't know what is your primary deficit. So what you will do, you will take your primary deficit X, okay, and 40% of X. Okay, so 40% of X is going to be like 40 upon 100 multiplied by X, then 0 and 0, then this is 0.40X. Everyone getting this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Right? If you will solve it, it will be 0.4. And when you will multiply 0.4 with X, and it is 0.4, 0.40X. Clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Clear.
So, yeah. So basically, what is this? This is 40% of X. Okay. Because right now, they have given you that interest payment is 40% of this. So this is your, basically, you find out that this is the value. Okay. Now, your X is, you have to find out X, and your X is this. Okay. Then you are going to solve it like it is mentioned that it is 10,000, right? Of, you are getting it what I'm trying to say, which is 40% of primary deficit. So this is the thing. And now you have to find out 40% of whatever the amount is. Then 40% of, whatever the amount is of this amount. Then it is going to be like this, 1,000 and you will be, solving it, sorry, 10,000, then you will be solving it like this, and the answer will be 25 crores. Are you getting it what I taught you over here? First, see, just forget about everything. First, it is mentioned that your like whatever your primary deficit, it is 40% of what is given. Okay, so you took your primary deficit is X and you find out like 40% of X. Okay, I hope you are not getting it. I'm just explaining it again. Just a minute. Okay, just forget about everything what we did. Just remember one. First, you got the question. What you studied that your IP is your IP is basically, you can say 10,000, and that is equals to 40% of the primary deficit. That means this 10,000 rupees is equals to 40% of X. Okay, because right now you have taken your primary deficit as X. Okay, because you don't know the value of primary deficit, that's why your 10,000 rupees is equals to 40% of the X. Okay, and what you side by side you solve 40 upon 100 multiplied by X, it was 0.40X. Okay, this is what the thing was. So now basically you just have to find out the value of X, right? It is like 10,000 equals to, you can say 0.4x. Okay, now this is in multiplication form. If you will solve it like this, it will be like 0.40 over here. And if you will solve these, then the value will be 25,000 crore, the value of X. Getting it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Others?
Yes, got it.
Adi, Mariam? Getting it or not? Or do you want me to explain it again? One more time, do you want me to explain it? Okay, got it. Mahdi, get. Okay, Mahdi, I'll just explain it again. Okay. So when you got the question, the very first thing is that you got to know that IP is given. Right? IP is 10,000 crore. Okay. But with that, it was given that this, your IP is equals to 40% of primary deficit. Okay. And you have to find fiscal deficit. This is short. This statement is given. Now, you don't know what is PD. So you will take PDX. Okay. And side by side, you will solve 40% of X. If you will solve it, it is like 40 upon 100 multiplied by X, and the answer is 0.40X. Okay, this is what you solved it. Clear? Got it? Everyone? Till here, I hope it's fine. How you
Yes.
got it? Right? Now, you know the statement that your interest payment was equals to 40% of X, your PD. Right? So, 40% of X you already solved, it is 0.40X. Okay, and here this, and simply now you have to find the value of X. And being a commerce student, being a math student, you know this, that if you have to find the value of X, then it is going to be this divided by 0.40 equals to X. If you will solve this value, you will get 25,000. Clear? I hope now it's clear. Right? Mahdi, got it? Right? Okay. So basically this 25,000 is your X. And what was X? X was your primary deficit. Right? So now you have primary deficit, you have interest deficit. Simply you will find out the things. Okay. So first, clear everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So you have to find the fiscal deficit. So you calculate the fiscal deficit, that fiscal deficit equals to primary deficit plus interest payment. Primary deficit is this and your interest payment is this, and simply you'll solve. Okay, I'm just giving you 2 minutes to write it down. This type of questions you are going to get in case your examiner tries to, tries to set your exam paper hard or the question paper hard, you'll get it.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, I'll just wait for 1 more minute. Okay.
Done.
Okay, I hope everyone is done, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is the question which you are going to do over here. Okay. From the given table, you have to find primary deficit and the fiscal deficit. Okay. So these entries are like, just try to adjust it. Like revenue deficit is 70 and borrowings are 50. Revenue receipt is 50 and interest payment is 25% of revenue deficit. Okay. So I'll just let you know how you're going to do this. Okay. See, first what you have to do, you have to find fiscal deficit. So of course the formula is very clear to you, right? But over there, see, it is mentioned 25% of revenue deficit, right? Your interest payment is 25% of revenue deficit. That means you have to first find out the revenue deficit. Only then you can find out the interest payment, right? So revenue deficit, the formula is revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt. So revenue expenditure is given, revenue receipt is given. You'll simply solve it. Your answer is like you'll get 20,000 crore. Got it, everyone? Right? Yes or no?
Got it. Yes.
Yeah. And then what you have to find, this fiscal deficit and the primary deficit. Okay. So simply you're going to write interest payment and all that. Now see, this is 20,000, which is your revenue deficit. Your interest payment is equals to 25% of 20 this. So 25 upon 100 multiply by 20,000, right? When you will solve it, you'll get the answer. Whatever the answer will be, it is 5,000 crore. You'll get the answer. Clear? Got it? This one you got it?
Yes, ma'am.
What you have to do, see, the question was 25% of revenue deficit, right? So first you have to find revenue deficit. Yeah, it was clearly mentioned. Revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt. Totally you did it. The answer is 20. This is your revenue deficit. But your interest payment is 25% of your revenue deficit. So 25% of this 20,000, you have to find it out. And the answer is 5,000. And then simply primary fiscal deficit formula, you will put it down and you'll get the answer. And primary deficit, simply you'll put it down and you'll get the answer. Can anyone tell me what will be the fiscal deficit over here? By just looking to the question, what you will write? Fiscal deficit will be equals to? Pardon.
And physical deficit minus interest payments.
Fiscal deficit will be equals to, what will be the value?
Borrowing.
Yeah. Why? Because here total expenditure, nothing is given, right? So automatically what will happen? Your fiscal deficit is this. Sorry, this one. 15,000. This is like a little bit, you just have to adjust. Everyone got this question? Right? Okay. So I'll just erase it and then you can solve.
Done, ma'am.
Done.
Okay. I hope everyone is done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now this question, this is going to be very easy. You are going to solve it on your own. From the following thing, you have to find capital expenditure, total expenditure, and the interest payment. Okay. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm just giving you 2 minutes. Just solve. Okay, one thing which I need to mention over here is, see, first thing is you have to find a capital expenditure. That means you are going to use that fiscal deficit formula, right? And you know the fiscal deficit formula is revenue deficit plus the capital expenditure. But over here, can you see this? Non-debt capital receipt. I told you earlier as well, right? You have to deduct it, right? From capital expenditure, you have to deduct it non-debt capital receipt. Clear?
Yes,
See,
ma'am.
capital receipt is all the things, but because we don't include borrowing, that's why you have to remove every extra thing from the capital receipt. You just have to take simply the capital receipt, but any extra unit which is related to capital receipt, you have to subtract it. So when you will like put the formula fiscal deficit, revenue deficit plus the capital expenditure and all that, then you are going to subtract it, right, from the capital expenditure. Capital expenditure you define, but you are going to subtract it, right? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, students. So we'll just discuss the answers. Okay. So basically, first was capital expenditure. So you know the formula that revenue deficit is revenue. Fiscal deficit is revenue deficit, and the capital expenditure there you have to exclude it, and there you'll get the answer. Right, the capital expenditure. Okay. And next one was you have to find total expenditure. So again, if you want to find total expenditure, you have to use the same formula, right? Revenue expenditure is total expenditure minus capital expenditure, right? So again, the formula you have written over here, like you have to merge it, and then you'll get the answer. Clear? Getting it?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Yeah. And last one was very easy, like the interest payment, because now you have revenue deficit, you have interest payment as well as the fiscal. You have what you have to find. You have to find the interest payment. So primary deficit, it's given primary deficit, and fiscal deficit is already given over here. You just have to put the value and get the answer. Clear? So those who haven't done it, I'm just sharing my screen. Just solve it. Okay. You can zoom it from your end, or you want me to zoom?
Yes.
Okay, you can zoom it, or you want me to zoom?
And we can't zoom in.
Okay. Just a minute, and I'll just. Okay, this is the first part, fiscal deficit, where like the first part, the second part, and then I'll just third part is easy, so you can write it down, and you can check your answers as well.
Ma'am, can you explain the B part?
Okay. So basically here you have to find the total expenditure, right? If we look to the formula, then total expenditure, this is what you have to find, right? And this total receipt, fiscal deficit is already given. This you have to find, and total receipt excluding borrowing over here. Okay. So now what you will be doing, total expenditure, this and the capital expenditure, right? You have already written this, clear? So now just listen to it very carefully. This is the formula, right? So now revenue expenditure is here, revenue deficit plus revenue receipt, right? So how come you got this revenue deficit? Basically, you are adding all this thing, right? If you want to find revenue deficit, then the formula is revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt, right? So this is where you got revenue deficit. Now, if you have revenue deficit, right, you have capital as well, you have fiscal as well. You have to find the what you have to find. You have to find the total expenditure. You can got it or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll see. This is the formula, right? Fiscal deficit, total expenditure, and the receipt part. Now, revenue expenditure and capital expenditure, they'll make the total expenditure, right? So, what we were doing here, first we have to find out the both the things. So, we added both the things, right? And we made this total total expenditure you have to find out. So, you have to add both the things. See, total expenditure is basically revenue expenditure plus capital expenditure. Okay, then that's why you'll get the total expenditure. right? So basically what you did, a total expenditure, you have to find out revenue expenditure, right? Plus capital expenditure, right? But over here, what is not given, you like fiscal deficit is already given, but you have to find in order to get the, you have to find out total expenditure. So total receipt is not given, right? So that's why you wrote this formula again. And after that, after getting total expenditure, you put the value over here, right? And capital expenditure, you already know, right? So this is what you want. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Capital expenditure, you in the first part you found out the capital expenditure, right? But
Yes.
a total expenditure was not given to you, right? So that's why you added both the things. That's why you got total expenditure, and fiscal deficit is already given to you, and you have to find two fiscal deficit already given. Total expenditure, you have to find it out, and total capital expenditure. This is how you calculate it. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, everyone done?
Yes.
So I know, just see, today what you will be doing, you will be writing the questions again, and you will be solving the questions again. Okay, the same question, so that it will be a practice session for you. And next class, I'll take your numerical portion test. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and also just revise theory because you have 2 days. So I don't, tomorrow you'll be doing numerical, next day do the theory portion. So theory portion, I'll be giving you differences. Okay, maybe I'll give you the difference between indirect and direct tax. Maybe I'll give you the difference between capital receipt and the revenue receipt. So learn differences, all the differences, plus do numerical. So that will be your test. Your test will be on Tuesday. Clear?
Yes.
So prepare well, and everyone will attend the test. And Mariam, your portion is left, so you'll watch the recordings. And Tuesday, if you have any doubt, we'll discuss. Okay. And from Thursday onwards, like after that class, I'll just start with your new chapter. Clear, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.